Hey guys, this is Dinosaur Drawer, and this is the second part of how to draw the compsognathus. And in this part we're going to focus a little bit more on the detail and stuff. So what we're gonna start with is drawing the basic lines for example, to follow and put some shadow on it. For example, over here he has a lot of veins and stuff, and also over here he kind of has a vein that goes like this, and then he has a lot of veins over here as well. Actually, this is a very long one, and then there's a shorter one over here, and there's one that goes like this. And these are not all veins and stuff, but just wrinkles and skin folds that we want to get in the drawing, and we just want them to be right and stuff. And let's see, yeah, that would be about it for this drawing. Maybe we could add another one over here. Maybe we could even add a few of them over here. Alright, so now we have some lines and some parts that we can use to follow, and now we want to create a little bit of shadow beneath those lines. Maybe make the lines themselves a little bit darker as well. And we want to make this part pretty dark as well. We want to have a big muscle over here, and of course we want a line going like this for the back muscles. And I'm not going to be drawing in the ribs and stuff, although it would look nice for the detail, but I don't think we will have to. So now we're just going to draw a couple of lines like this, which will kind of act like it will look a little bit like wrinkles and stuff and skin folds. And we can add a little bit of shadow over here. Which goes a little bit like this. And now we can add a little bit more shadow over here. Make it just a little bit darker. And if you make this darker, you can make the rest of the drawing a little bit darker as well. So for example, these lines are going to be darker, this is going to be darker, the shadow over here, and this part might get a little darker as well. And of course a little bit of shadow on top. And if you create shadow like this, you will likely get a lot of 3D, well, it will look a little bit more three-dimensional. Alright, so the neck is about done already. Now we want to focus a little bit, well, let's focus on the muscles on his leg. So he has one really big muscle over here. Don't draw this part in too dark. And then you can see kind of his calf muscle over here. And this is just completely round, kind of. This should be a little bit longer, I believe. Well, we can just keep it like this. Alright. So what you want to do now is just start with drawing these lines over here. Shadowy lines. And we want to get his knee in over here. Draw a couple of dark lines around his knee. Make sure they kind of fade into the rest of the drawing a little bit. Alright, now do the same thing over here. And also over here. Then just make sure these lines connect. And if you think that it still looks too light, you can always go back and get in a little bit more shadow, like what I'm doing right now, just to create that 3D look a little bit more. Alright, and we also want this to connect a little bit. Do the same thing over here. Just leave a little bit more of a highlight. I don't know what that sound was. Alright. So now the hardest part of the whole drawing is actually finished. And he has a lot of shadow over here. And this shadow actually disappears slowly once you go farther into the tail. Alright, and now it's time to draw in this part. And make these lines very clearly visible. Like this, and this vein as well, because we want to have kind of a little bit of a highlight going on at this at that areas, those areas. So for example, you shouldn't go too much near those black lines on top. To kind of keep that illusion of depth going on. So alright, I guess this part will be very dark, so that means that if it gets too dark, we will have to go back into the neck and make it a little bit darker as well. So we want to kind of create the same effect as what we did on his neck. So we're just going to draw in these lines, and some of them are dark, some of them aren't, and this will kind of look realistic at the end. For example, the neck looks really realistic, so once we get the shadow going on, you draw it in like this. It will kind of look very realistic. And there's a little bit of shadow going on over here as well. Make this a little bit longer. Maybe something like this as well over here. And then just put in a couple of lines that are a little bit darker than all the other lines. And maybe put them a little bit closer to each other, closer together. Alright. And kind of do the same with as what you did over here on this part. You want a lot of shadow over here, but also we need that little highlight that I just put in. And on his arms, just goes like this, because this is just a huge muscle that kind of connects over there. We have a bit of shadow going on over here. This line goes up a little, and then we have like a little bit of shadow over here. And a line going straight through the middle like this. Alright. Going to make this side a little darker. Okay, it's starting to come along very well. And so actually he has like longer fingers. I didn't really pay that much attention to the reference photo while drawing in his fingers, so I'm sorry about that, but you kind of get the idea. It's not, the fingers aren't completely accurate, so that's kind of a shame, because I try to get my drawings as accurate as I can to what they are supposed to look, but sometimes you kind of forget some things. And do the same thing on this hand, but you don't really have to put in that much detail into it. It's a little bit darker as well, because it's on the other side a little bit more. What you're seeing is the shadow of the rest of his body on top of it, kind of. So then just draw in those scales again. So again, I can't really see the hands too clearly on my reference, so I'm not sure how many fingers he has. But I think they're just going to be 3 fingers, maybe even 4, but you can't really see it in the reference. And the way I drew it is also, you can't really see it very good. So we're going to create a little bit of shadow over here. This kind of goes on all the way over there. And then something like this going on, I believe. And of course we want this to be a little bit darker as well, so we're going to draw in a little bit of shadow over here. and make this part a little bit darker. It's a little bit better to see. And then kind of go with lines like this. And to make it look a little bit more 3D, put in a bit of shadow over here as well. And over here as well. So now we can put a little bit of detail in his feet. We're just going to draw in those very dark scales. They go all the way up until over there. Do the same thing on this foot. And this is a really great technique to get these kind of Jurassic Park style looking scales into your drawing. It's just by putting some very dark thick stripes or very tiny round spots, some very tiny circles on it, and it will look kind of like the Jurassic Park style dinosaur scales. So that foot looks pretty okay compared to the rest of the drawing. It looks it fits right in, if you know what I mean. I want this to be a little bit more detailed and stuff. A couple more lines. I'm not really happy with how this shadow looks over here. I want to draw it in a little bit darker. Looks a little bit better. Okay, so now we can move up to the area of his tail. Normally I try to put as much detail into my drawings as possible, but for this drawing I want to keep it as short as I can. So I want to just make 2 parts about it, and then just yeah, try and get some good content that you guys can enjoy, and not like very long videos that no one will ever kind of watch. So for the tail I'm doing kind of the same thing as I did on the neck, just these lines going down, and later on we can add shadow. The reason that I'm not going all the way down is because I will give that a little bit more shadowy texture. I mean, a little bit more shadow at that part, and it looks a little bit nicer when you don't go over it beforehand. Alright, now we're going to draw in the shadow over here. And I want to keep something like a highlight at some places. And I'm just creating a bit of shadow over there at his tail, which won't go completely all the way into his tail, but kind of goes like this, what I just did. So yeah, I was just thinking, and I asked you guys in my past video what you guys wanted me to actually create, what kind of content you guys wanted me to create, and well, I kind of had a conversation with Next Muffin, and he said that it would be better to just try and keep my videos as short as possible, and for example make one part about just the outer lines and stuff, and then make a second part about the detail. So that's actually what I'm trying to do in this video. But the down part about that is that the drawings won't be as detailed as, for like example, the drawings that I usually, the drawing tutorials that I usually put out, because those are mostly of the time very detailed, because I put a lot of time in them. So the longer the videos take, the drawings actually, the longer the drawings take, the better the content will be. So I'm not going to go too much into the tail anymore, because I'm kind of happy with how it looks right now. So I'm just going to keep it like this. And let's draw in the detail on this leg. So this leg is also going to be a little bit darker compared to this one. And over here we will have the knee and stuff. A little bit more shadow over here, but not too much. You still want to be able to see the separation. Well, I mean the separate areas. Bit of a muscle over here, calf muscle. And also tell me in the comments below, please, if you want to see me drawing with a pencil or with a pen more. Because I really like to draw with a pen, because it's very easy. It's not, yeah, you don't really have to pay that much attention to how much pressure you are putting down on your pencil to create a kind of tone. Because with a pencil you have to press down really hard to get like the darkest tone, and with a pen you don't really have to do that much effort, put that much effort into drawing dark areas. Alright, and now the final part will be his head. And let me take my reference again. Alright, I think I'm going to zoom in a little bit on his head, because I'm not going to draw in too much of scales and stuff. Alright, I believe you can see it about right. Okay, so I'm just going to draw in shadow and highlights. So there will be a lot of shadow over here. I'm not sure if you can really see it with a huge pen in the way, but I hope you can. Let's make this hole a little bit larger. And this line is actually supposed to be a little bit more like this. And let's see, there's a little bit more shadow over here. A bit more shadow over here as well. And we could draw in a couple of small scales and stuff. Do something like this. Just a few lines going through it. And make sure you keep your highlights and shadow parts. For example, at the part of the eye will be a little bit darker. Oh, I'm really sorry. Not sure why it did that, but alright, this is a little bit better. I'm not sure if you saw everything, but sometimes my camera just does things like that. So yeah, just draw some shadow everywhere and try and create something that looks like the illusion of detail. I don't want to touch the end of his nose too much. Alright, and now his bottom jaw, and this part goes a little bit more like this. Shadow over here, and you have a lot of shadow going over there, and also a little bit of shadow over there. Make sure to keep those parts the darkest of the whole thing when you put in these lines. And let's make this a little darker. And something like this. Well, I think we're about done with pretty much the whole drawing. What we could do is draw in a couple of stripes, but we're not going to do that because we don't really have the time. Otherwise my camera will suddenly stop recording. Alright, I just put in a little bit of shadow over here, and I'm going to put in my autograph. And the name of the dinosaur. Oh, if my pen works. Alright, so yeah, if you liked the video, leave a like, and comment below what you think about the video and what you think about this drawing in general. And don't forget to subscribe. So this was Dinosaur Drawer, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.